Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Brick by Brick podcast. This episode is officially kicking off season 2. If you guys are not familiar with the podcast, every episode we sit down with a different member of the OpTic Gaming fan base, a different brick in the wall or a different green wall member, if you will. And we just talk about their introduction to OpTic, what OpTic means to them. We share their favorite players and memories and just stuff like that, as well as just get to know them and allow other fans to get to know one another on a deeper level. Today we have Christian or Waltinator. I'll let him introduce himself here in a moment. I do want to say, if you guys are interested in this, if you guys do want to come on at any time, to hit me up over on Twitter at AstronauticaLM. That, of course, will be linked in the description of the YouTube video or Spotify, depending on where you're watching or listening. And with that said, we have a lot to talk about, so I'll let Christian introduce himself real quick. And with his introduction, I'll have him share what OpTic means to him and what the green wall means to him. So go ahead, Christian.
Thank you for introducing me. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm super excited about it. Let's start off by my name. Obviously, it's Christian, also known as Waltinator on Twitter or Twitch, whatever you want to look me up on. We'll start off by saying what OpTic means to me. I know it sounds really cheesy, and pretty much everyone has said it at this point, but just family. Like, I joined the Green Wall about 5 or 6 years ago, and ever since then, it's truly like helped me with everyday life, even like going through every day, like being excited to check Twitter, see what all my friends are saying, or getting on the weekend and playing with other Green Wall family, or watching the COD League, or back in the day when it was MLG, and just experiencing the life of a Green Waller is amazing. And I'm super happy to be on this podcast and talk to someone else that understands what OpTic means to people. And so I guess I'll go over how I got introduced to the Green Wall super quickly. About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, my first Call of Duty was World War II.
Oof.
And
that was your first Call of Duty?
Yeah, pretty much.
Before you go, for competitive or in general?
I played like Black Ops 1 when I was a kid, but like true.
Did you not really play any of the other ones in between?
Nope.
And on that note, do you have fond memories of World War II then? If you actually played it a lot?
I have fond memories. I just remember like being introduced to like Scumpy and all these great players that I've heard like stories from friends about, like never actually witnessing these great moments, like them winning champs.
Yeah.
Like, see, I have a different perspective of like Green Wall than a lot of people do, because a lot of people remember like these great moments that like they got to see live, and like even being in that video would have been amazing. But me seeing it from the point of view of the dynasty breaking up that year, and it was just like, wow. Why you know, my friends are all telling me this is this amazing team.
Yeah.
And you know, I can so slowly see why they're amazing. Their personalities are like perfect in the way of they're funny, like they're great at making content. All of these things that, you know, add up. And then watching them play that competitive year was just kind of rough.
Yeah, that is that's what's cool about this podcast too, is like everyone has a different introduction, even if it's same timeline. Like I've talked to people that were introduced to Scumpy back on Black Ops 2 and like hated him. Like I think that's episode like 2 or 3 with the collector edition. Like he initially hated Scumpy and then came back around years later to fall in love with OpTic, and has amassed a crazy collection of OpTic gear and stuff. This is already going to be like one of my favorite episodes, hearing where you've come from. Because like one of my other favorite episodes was with Jack or Incisive, because his introduction was actually to the Huntsman. Like super new. Yeah. So yours will be interesting to hear because you got introduced right at the beginning of a massive downfall.
Huge downfall.
So wow, this is gonna be fun. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you said you've been watching for like 5, 6 years now.
Mhm.
Um, Started watching in World War II. In that time, do you feel like there's been anything that's like really stood out that separated Optic from other organizations like FaZe or 100 Thieves or some of these other big ones?
Well, what really like led me to OpTic is my buddy Connor. He was a huge OpTic fan, like had the OpTic scuff, hoodies, like he was telling me all about it, telling me, and he was the one that like introduced me back into COD into World War II. And kind of said, look, like I'm a huge fan of Call of Duty. This is my favorite comp team. And so I did my own research on like teams like FaZe and like a bunch of older like evil geniuses during
Ooh,
that time,
EG,
and
yeah.
then a bunch of other teams. And I just kind of like that they had like the winning record, the kind of like the champs of Call of Duty at that time. And then I kind of looked at more into their inner personalities, and they just really spoke to me in the way of, oh my goodness, this guy can make me laugh so hard, and
Yeah.
really happy memories. And then watching throughout World War II season them kind of like having struggles and like, oh my goodness, this team, even with the roster change, which was crazy, like Methods and Octane joining the squad was pretty funny. And I saw Methods in a couple, like when he was on like Rise
Yeah, some of
uh,
his older
and he
teams
was
and
really
stuff.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think
yeah,
Methods is one over the years that has like he was always kind of funny, but over the last like 3 or 4 years, he's really broken out as like this funny ass dude that like
I
that
totally agree.
it's cool watching that. I feel like because like so many like Simps like kind of the polar opposite. Like he doesn't do a lot of content. But he's arguably the best player over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
Um, and then you have guys like Octane, who, in my opinion, was one of the best players in at least Black Ops 4. And I think with his team situations the last 2 years, like he hasn't been able to show how good he is, but I think
yeah.
he's still at that level. But like constantly bashing the league, like funny dude. Um, yeah, so that's been fun. Um, so moving on, see World War II. I'm trying to think of the timeline here. Because I've World War II is probably when I started to watch less and less, not just because they were performing poorly, but
Hmm.
because like life was getting busier.
Sure.
Um, Now I've started to watch off and on, like more. I don't know, it just depends. Like Black Ops 4, I actually watched a decent amount. Like I went to Anaheim, I went to Champs that year.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I guess on that note, have you been to an event?
Sadly, no. I want to. There's been a couple times, like when the Huntsmen were gonna do their,
The
uh,
opener, the Chicago one?
yeah, the opener in
I'm
Chicago.
still
I was
pissed I
gonna go
missed
to
that.
that, but never ended up happening, which kind of stinks. But no, I really want to go. If I don't go this year, it's definitely next year. But um, yeah, I just haven't had the time to yet, or that because I live in Idaho, and so the
Okay.
nearest event would be a Seattle event if they ever did one.
Mhm. And other than
Um,
that, the nearest event that actually happens is like those Anaheim
yep.
ones. Yeah. See, I'm in Northern
So
California, so that's like there's not too many events out here on the West Coast. Like literally the only ones I can go to are the Anaheim ones.
exactly.
Um yeah, the Chicago one, I had that all booked, like I was ready to go, and then obviously COVID happened. Um I've been looking forward to like the real optic opener.
Oh yeah.
Uh that's why I'm going to the Texas event. I can't
Oh
afford it. I shouldn't be going.
you
But I'm like,
can't.
I've been waiting 3 years
Oh yeah.
for the actual optic opener event.
Oh
And with
yeah.
this one, we should be getting. I'm gonna do a IRL Brick by Brick, another one of those like I did at Champs last year.
Yeah,
And I should be getting Hex on for like 3 to 5 minutes.
that'd
So
be
I guess it's a
awesome.
matter of finding him or seeing him or I don't know, tweeting at him. But like stuff
Mhm.
like that, like not only have I been waiting 3 years for this event, but like last year, my numbers don't show it, but I do feel like I met a lot more people.
Mhm.
Um, and been headed in a good direction. I don't know if it's the right one yet. We'll find out. Um, and you've never been to an event. So have you gone back then? I know you said you've explored some of the older teams, all right? EG, Phase, Rise, Strictly Business, if anybody remembers them. Have you gone back and
Predator.
watched like old OpTic videos from that Dynasty team?
Yeah, so I watched like AW, BO3, obviously, a bunch of like the older games, and seeing like how Scumpy used to perform, and like not saying he's dropped off by any means. I mean, he's still
I mean, he
dropping.
used to be a monster and now he's still a monster. I feel like it doesn't stand out as much now too because the COD league has gotten so much more competitive.
Yeah,
Like it's way harder to have like a 30, 40 kill hardpoint game.
exactly. I totally agree. The competition stepped up so much, but like watching the old Dynasty and like even back when like Nade Shot used to play, like
Mhm.
it's crazy like how long COD has been around, and like I only started hearing about it like 5, 6 years ago. I
Yeah.
really wish like I
Were
would have heard
you
about it here.
were you playing any like other games between like Black Ops 1 and then when you got reintroduced or were you just not really gaming?
Um, I was playing like nothing crazy. I think I really stayed off the whole video game thing just because like I didn't have money for a console,
Yeah.
or like when I was in high school, we I was really like active, so I didn't like stay on like social media as much,
Mhm.
or own a console really until after high school. And so I guess that's probably a big part of it.
Gotcha.
Uh, but when I was younger, like my first ever video game was like Golden Gun, like 007 on the
Ooh, the
Nintendo
N64?
64. Yeah.
Dude, I saw a
And
thing the other day that was like the GoldenEye theme song did not have to go this hard.
no, it
Like
didn't,
it
but it
did
did
not. Like Jesus.
for real.
Yeah, I
But
feel it.
yeah,
Like go ahead. Go ahead.
that was like my first ever like experience on like video games. And like I played like Black Ops 1 zombies and like bot lobbies and super simple stuff when it came to like Call of Duty. Um, but that still made me happy, but never to the extent of competitive Call of Duty and what it's become. So
Yeah. Well, it's different too. Like I used to do like I guess I've like always played games and stuff, but it was a lot of like sports games back on the PS2 or like skateboarding games like the Tony Hawk games and stuff. Just like all sorts of stuff. Like I definitely used to play a much wider array of genres. And then when I got a 360, my first three 360s were used from GameStop and they all red ringed. The second one I literally got at home, plugged it in, it red ringed. I went back that day and like swapped it. Like, cause like we weren't like poor, but like didn't have money to buy a new console.
yeah.
Um, and that's when I started playing more FPSs, starting with like Rainbow Six Vegas 2, which is an excellent game.
Mm,
Um, but it was a lot of like what did they call it back? Terrorist hunt, which is basically
mhm,
like bot lobbies. Like you would like one or two man team, and the harder the difficulty, the more of them there were on the map. I think it maxed out at like 50, and like you just had to basically kill all 50 dudes. And like if you died, you restart. Then my buddy introduced me to Call of Duty, and like going from him and I playing together online just against bots to actual like multiplayer, like it's a completely different thing. Especially like back then, like you always see the posts and hear about like We need to bring back MW2 game chat lobbies, like that
For real.
toxic. And I think I might be biased, but I think that we do need to bring that back. Like, I get that we're in a day and age now where like people don't want to be toxic. You don't want to be, saying stuff that you shouldn't be. But forcing game chat and everything has forged some really good friendships for a lot of people with people that they have never met and will maybe never meet. Like, I think any ranked game mode in any game should force game chat.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, no one's like in game chat making new friends anymore. We're in this
Yeah.
big period of inclusivity, and yet we're not actively making new friends. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's weird.
And to go off your point, I've done like a lot of thinking about this, and this is just my opinion. Um, but like if we were, you know how so many people say like they want like a Black Ops 1 remastered
Mm-hmm.
or like a Black Ops 2 or
Yeah.
whatever it is
Basically, Modern
remastered.
Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 1.
I
Ghost
think
is
with
starting to
that,
make its way into that conversation too.
yeah, for
A
real.
few people are starting to throw Ghost in there.
Yep. Well, Ghost is good for S&D, but my point is, if they were to ever do that, I don't think that it would ever to live up to what it was before, and so people would actually like start to hate it. If we're
Interesting.
just because like they have some nostalgia from playing like when they were younger,
Yeah.
and so my thought process is it would never like live up to what it once was, and they would just criticize developers and I just don't think many positives would come out of a remastered version, you know?
So I agree and disagree with that because I do think that we are much more critical now on developers. Like, I think if you remastered MW2, which is my favorite COD of all time, it was like my first one. That's when all this started for me.
Mhm.
I want that game remastered almost more than I want to breathe. And yes, there's nostalgia factor. And you can enjoy things differently when you're between the ages of, say, let's just go wide and go like 10 to 20 versus
Mhm.
after that it becomes more difficult to have fun, I feel like, for a lot of people. I think I actually just read a study too, like children laugh on average like 40 times a day or something, and after the age of 25 or something around there, people laugh an average of 4 times a day.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
you literally just have less fun.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, stress, life, whatever. So I agree that it would never live up. And I definitely think like if we brought back like one man army noob tubes, that would never fly, right? Everybody
No,
would hate it.
never.
I also have this weird thing of like one of the things that made Modern Warfare 2 so good is that it wasn't a perfect game. It had plenty of issues. I think Modern Warfare 3 was a significantly better Call of Duty game. It wasn't as fun for me. Like, having that stupid stuff, as annoying as it is, and I was a rager, like I've broken controllers and stuff.
Mhm.
There's something fun about it that like it almost makes you not take it as seriously, even though I was.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, I don't think like if say we brought back Force Game Chat and Search and Destroy and we all went back on MW2, I think there would definitely be some people that are just as toxic as they used to be. But I think it'd be a small percentage. Like, I think most of the community that would go back and play it would all be the older crowd. It'd be like all the people playing Halo Infinite, right? Look at esports, and like Fortnite has one of the youngest esports demographics. Halo has
Yeah.
one of the oldest. It's like 70 or 80% of current Halo pros were Halo pros in Halo 2. Like, these
Yeah,
guys are
definitely.
hitting 30. And I think that'd be the same thing with COD. If we all went back to MW2, I don't think we'd be as toxic because we're all in our 23 and older category. And December 21st, a ton of people did get back on that because there was a TikTok that
Really?
said, "Hey, everyone like get back on MW2 this night." And like FaZe posted that TikTok to their Instagram. And like I switched shifts at work so I could play that shit. And like
Yeah.
it was taking 30 seconds to find matches. Normally it takes me like an hour. And
Yeah.
I ended up finding some Australian dudes. We ran private match free for all, just snipers only for like 4 hours straight. Like
Wow.
it was great. I was like, man, I am reliving childhood. Like I told
Yeah.
them, like, I could sit in these sniper lobbies for hours. It's like my most favorite part of Call of Duty was like 1v1 me,
Hmm.
like in sniping, which is like
Yeah.
that's how I got introduced to OpTic, like back when they were a sniper team and everything.
Wow.
Going back to OpTic, um, who this will be interesting too, given your introduction. Um, who's your favorite current member and favorite all-time member? I'm sure if you've listened to episodes, like it could be the same person.
So I have two different names written down.
Okay,
My favorite OpTic player probably is Scump. I mean, he's definitely up there
you're wearing the
conversation.
hoodie.
Yep.
Yeah.
But my favorite person of all time, slash like I'd love to like hang out with because I think like our personalities would like mesh super good would be Formal. Like
Okay.
Matt.
That's I think that's the first time I've heard Formal on the podcast.
Yeah.
Riley in the IRL one at Champs, I know Formal is Riley's favorite player. But for like
Mhm.
I normally ask like if you could meet anyone or if you could hang out with them. And like most people say Scump or someone in TST or like
Mhm.
I've heard Maniac once. I don't think I've heard Formal. So, all
Well, yeah. I don't
right.
know. He's just like he's got that like super hilarious like meme personality that is just so funny.
Yeah. Well, it's like he's super, super chill and like also hilarious.
Hmm.
Um, like the ratio of chill to funny is almost out of balance for him.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, Formal that'd be a fun one. I mean, obviously, I think we all wish we could just like hang out with, like, just spend a day at the hex quarters with everyone.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Do you have a top three like favorite moments or memories? Because for a lot of people, like 2017 champs is one of those, but you came in right after that.
I know.
And like, I mean, if it's still a favorite memory, it definitely can be. I just want to know if yours are different.
Mine are probably different. I haven't really even thought a lot about this. So, I think probably one of them is definitely this latest merger. I
Okay.
think it's really good for OpTic. And now that Hector has all these resources to actually help him instead of him being a one man army, um, that's super good for the future of OpTic. Um, the negative side to that is probably um, it almost sort of like takes away from OpTic just a tiny bit um, with Envy being a part of it because they've got their own history.
Mm-hmm.
They want to keep their name just as much as we want to keep OpTic.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing overall. Um, I'm trying to think of other good memories. I
Uh,
think another.
like it's tough with like we haven't had the most successful years.
Exactly.
For me, if I
It's
think of like recent memories, like this it could arguably be like a top three of all time for me, but Dashy on Black Ops 4 at Champs
mhm.
on what was that map? Seaside?
Yep, when he popped the 5 piece.
Yeah. Like that
It's
to me,
insane.
it's and part of it could be because I'm there, but I think a bigger part of it is hearing the crowd just build with
Yeah,
each kill. It's like the 3-piece happens and you hit here, the 4-piece happens, you hit here. He gets the 5 and it just
he goes in.
blows up. Yeah. Like that to me is like I live for those hype moments.
And I can like still hear Miles in my head when he's like screaming, Dashy, Dashy,
Dashy, Dashy.
Dashy.
Yeah.
It goes
Like
insane.
I live for like movies and stuff. I'm the same way. Like any big movie, I will call off work, I'll switch shifts, I'll request days off to make sure I go see it in XD the day it comes out. Or on the West Coast, we see it like, the day before or whatever. I think everywhere does
Mhm.
that now. Um, but it's like I have to be in the theater in case some crazy shit happens.
Yep,
Like I can't miss it. No Way
yep.
Home. No Way Home's like the first. I'm not counting Eternals just because I wasn't actually excited for it. But No Way Home was like the first big movie that I had to go see that I saw opening night, but I didn't see like the XD version. And I'm still big sad about it. I try not to think about it.
Yeah.
Like there had to have been some crazy shit happening in that theater that I did not get to experience.
Oh yeah. But yeah, for the biggest like memories I probably have would definitely be when Envoy beat TJ in the 1v1 to clutch the round
Mm,
11 during the Huntsman versus OpTic.
yeah.
Um, and that was insane just because, like, if he didn't win that 1v1, like, who knows what would have happened? It
Yeah.
was a
I
huge moment.
think what's crazy about that moment is like not only was it a round 11 search that came down to a 1v1, which is always good, but to later find out how much weight and pressure like wasn't necessarily on that 1v1, but just how much that influenced everything. Like when they started talking about all that and we found out, like everyone went back and watched that and was like, this was like the 15 seconds. Like
Yeah.
basically make it or break it. Yeah, that one's crazy to actually think about.
Oh,
I like
yeah. And then
Envoy.
obviously the
Envoy is probably my
dash,
favorite player to watch in Modern Warfare. Like
he was so good.
so good. Route man.
Route man gets paid.
Route man gets paid. So I think that's most of the questions. We talked about this right before we started recording, but something I want to do moving forward in the podcast is answer some of those basics in the first like third or half of the show, and then start talking about things that are more current in and outside of Call of Duty. So first thing I do want to talk about, you mentioned it a second ago, but the merger. Um, I also think it's a good thing. I think when it happened, a lot of us are scared to repeat what happened in 2017 with it was Infinite Esports and Entertainment. But I've always viewed Envy as OpTic's sister team.
Okay.
Um, because we've had players like Rambo and JCap who played for OpTic, then they played for Envy, then they came back to OpTic. Like I feel like we were always sharing players back and forth. And
Hmm.
like as much of E Clasico was this amazing rivalry, it was such a friendly competition too. Because like Hex and Hastro go way back. Like they come from a time where you had to wish success on everybody, like to build the whole thing.
Sure.
Um, so when it happened, I was like, you know what? This is a merger that I'm very comfortable with, as long as they basically keep it the optic that we know, but give them resources, which they've done so far.
Yeah.
And they've introduced some new people, right? They brought on like Z Laner. They brought on the some of the Envy people, which are still part of Envy. But like I look at that as just we'd be fans of these people as soon as they joined Optic, right? If the merger never happened, but all of a sudden we signed someone from Envy to Optic, we would all like them. Like that's
Yeah.
just how it works. Um, on that, probably my favorite so far that's happened is TP being back on Optic.
Mhm.
It
Oh,
rubbed me the
he's
wrong way when he signed with Envy. Not because I dislike Envy, but because I feel like TP is such a good, I can't see him on any other org besides OpTic. He's such a good fit. The personality, the way he represents the organization, his background with coaching them, but also being part of the complexity slash like EG lineup that was a major rival for so long.
Hmm.
Um, so he's probably the one I'm like happiest that he's back on OpTic. Did you have any other stuff you wanted to say about the merger, or did you want to look at your
um,
little list of things and start talking about just I don't know what you have written down. So
yeah, well, I do have a couple other things I want to talk about, just about COD, but I do like what you were saying about the merger. Um, it's definitely good change. I totally agree, and I think is definitely a huge step in the right direction, and setting an example for other organizations on how, you know, how important it is to be a team and to have those resources to help build your brand.
mhm.
Like, I'm pretty sure they just bought an entire esports arena, um,
Yes, that's the other reason
especially.
I'm going to the Texas event because like I know that arena is supposed to be nuts,
Oh yeah,
and like I'm like not only are they using it, but like now they own and manage it.
yeah.
Like, oh, it's gonna be gnarly. The only thing I don't like about it is thinking about how much money I'm gonna owe.
Mhm. Yeah, it's kind of a pretty penny for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but just to like kind of go back for a second, I did some thinking over the last few months, while we were trying to arrange finally doing this podcast, which is awesome. And one thought occurred to me, in possible questions. Why aren't there female COD pros? Like, what is the reason behind not having any COD pros that are females? Like, I
So
know there's a few like challengers players that are probably, um like Alley Cat's been tweeting out looking for a team and challengers. My best friend Jordan Visma, he's been hanging out with I think her name is Keeks. It's Draz's girlfriend.
yeah, my Keek
Uh,
sounds familiar.
and they've been hanging out, and she's looking for a team, I'm pretty sure. A bunch of like huge female esports players have been, trying to grind their way up in the challengers just like everybody else. But why in the history of, COD Esports has there not been one yet?
So I do think about this from time to time. Um, I think the biggest part of it is there's just, and I'm sure it's different now than it was, say Black Ops One through the Jetpack era. When did Fortnite come out? 2017. Yeah, so I'll say Black Ops One through the Jetpack era. I think the biggest part of it is there's just more guys playing Call of Duty. Like from a numbers perspective, like I'm sure there's plenty of females or women that have been playing games their whole life the same as the rest of us. However, in the scope of like the human population, at least in North America, because that's pretty much where COD lives, I think it's much smaller. And the reason I cut off at the end of the Jetpack era, because I think Fortnite put gaming on the map and made it like normal, right?
Hmm.
Like it was no longer like geeky or nerdy to be playing games. It became like, shit, Ninja's playing with Drake, like
Hmm.
this dope dude. And like, there's a lot of athletes in the NBA and NFL that are gamers and like also streaming stuff. Like Snoop Dogg, T Pain started streaming. Like all of a sudden, streaming and gaming, it was like we were all doing it, but there was this weird mentality of like, oh, if you played 12 hours a day, you're a nerd, which might be true if you're playing 12 hours a day. But like it
Hmm.
became so accepted. And I think females have much more society pressure on them to be a certain way, look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way. There's so many societal pressures. that I think a lot of women that maybe did grow up playing games and everything maybe hit it a little bit more because of those societal pressures. And now that everything's accepted and normal and like all that, I do think that the time will come. Uh I It's hard to say because there's so many like challenger teams and so many people playing, but it could at this point come down to maybe there hasn't been a female Call of Duty player that's proven to be in the top 0.01%. Maybe they're in the top 2%, maybe they're in the top 1%. But like the top 1% will get you to a D1 college. You have to be in the top 1% of that 1% to make it to the NBA or NFL.
Yep.
So I think it will definitely happen. What I would be interested to see is, will it happen because an organization decides they need to be the first organization to sign a female COD pro? Or will it happen because a female COD pro is truly just a better fit, which I would
Yeah.
like to see. I played sports all my life. You said you were active your whole life, so I assume you also did a
Mhm.
lot of sports.
Yep.
I don't like it when you see competitive integrity sacrificed for inclusion, which
Yep.
plenty of people will probably disagree with me on that. But from a purely competitive standpoint, like,
No, and they definitely gotta earn it. I think
yeah,
it goes back to,
I
like
do think with video games, real quick, too, that video games are much easier. Like, we don't need to make a female COD league, I don't think,
mhm.
the way that like NBA, WNBA, like most physical sports, you have separate leagues for a reason.
Yeah.
Um, I think with video games, you could have it just one league, and once we hit 16 or 20 teams, like I think the other thing that's weird too is because of the fact that it's pretty much all guys. A lot of women try to make female teams, or we're a
Mhm.
girls' COD team, which is great, but could it be better? Like why not be co-ed? Like if you're
Yeah.
trying to make the best team possible, it should just be the best team possible.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Those are my
I
thoughts.
totally
I'm
agree.
sure I'm sure depending on how many views this gets, there's going to be some controversy in the
Yeah.
comments, which is fine.
Yeah, and
I'm open to
I
conversation and
I
talking about things.
I exactly, and I totally agree, like, I think it'd be wrong for an org to pick up a girl just because she's a girl and they wanna have the first
Yeah.
female COD pro. I think it's definitely about skill. I mean, it's just a question that I've had, like, why hasn't there been?
Well, it's
And
like if they do that too, it's almost like if I'm in that position, if I'm a female and I get signed and I feel like I didn't earn it, it's always going to be in the back of my head, like, which like might be good because if you're competing, like you do want to prove yourself. But like I would hate to have that thought in the back of my head of like, did I actually earn this, or was like my gender or sex a big enough part of the conversation? I don't know. Continue though.
well, it's just like it's just like with Sensor, he's a huge Doug's a huge personality in the COD scene. He's been
Yeah.
around forever. He's grinding, but I think it's in the same sense of the reason he hasn't got a spot, which is a good thing. It's like teams aren't like looking at his personality, they're looking at his skill
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that, he's grinding and putting in the hours instead of just like looking at how many followers he has and adding them to the team.
Yeah.
Uh, which is good because it's a step in the right direction for future female comp pros too, because they want to look at the skill over what gains them.
Yeah. I will
Uh,
say, and this is kind of proof that like I think it's gonna happen at some point. But like if you look at these Warzone tournaments, they're making waves. Like there's tons that are starting to be involved and included in, and not just big names like Midnight, who's been doing this for 12 years, or
uh,
Holly, who, it's Damon's wife, and like,
it's-
but like Taylor Eggy. I don't know if you follow her, but like I started kind of following her when she started streaming like an Apex, like early Apex,
Hmm.
and like she's been crushing it. She's been doing a phenomenal job. She's played in some of these smaller tournaments and stuff. Um, so like I think seeing how many women and females are starting to be involved in these Warzone tournaments, like it's only a matter of time before some organization somewhere goes, she's the she just outperformed everyone in a Warzone tournament. Like, does she also play regular COD Esports? And how is she going to perform? Like, let's get her into some scrims.
Yeah, I
Like,
totally agree.
it's a different, like Warzone and competitive COD are different, but like the skills there regardless. It's mostly just thinking at that point. Like, how are you playing it?
Yeah, totally agree with that.
That was a good
Um,
one. I think that's a much needed conversation too. Like, no one's talking about it. Like,
and speaking of needed conversations, just to transition to my last um, question here. I want to go into a little bit of what I specialize in, and here's some background. I've been doing mental health and dealing with the aspect of mental health for the last 4 years. I am a behavior interventionalist and a community based support for children and adults with disabilities and the mental health aspect of it.
oh,
Um,
right. Yes.
and I really want to go into the state of depression and mental health in Call of Duty.
Yeah, I
I
forgot that's
know
what you
there's,
did. Like now I remember like you mentioning it when when we first started chatting and stuff.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let you just take the floor and roll with it, and like you invite me in to speak when you feel you want to hear an opinion or anything.
So, as a lot of us know, um, people have spoke on depression, like people like Prestini, Alex's brother. He's talked about how he's even had to take time off gaming, missed a tournament for just working on his mental health, um, and how important it is that these guys that are struggling with that get help. And um, I guess that my main question is like, how do people or how do we handle that? How does the league handle getting help for these guys? Does it require maybe um, having a team have a psychologist, like being able to have someone to talk to? Like, what is it going to take?
So I don't think any of us outside of the org slash league know how contracts go with like benefits and stuff. But in traditional work, right? Like your benefit plan may cover therapy or something. Like I work at Costco and I think you can get your first, I think it's like 8 sessions free or something.
Hmm.
I think if they don't already have something like that, that either having organizations have to have a psychologist or a therapist, or instead of having to have them have one, like make it an option. Like you have to have some sort of benefit plan or something where if your player feels like they need to go see a therapist or their mental health is in a bad state, they should be able to go and do that. And I think it should be paid for. Maybe not entirely, but there should be something in place where like, there's maybe a small copay, but like it definitely should be an option, and not just an option, but I think something like at Costco, we have a lot of benefits and they're talked about a lot, but there's also so many that like we have a Costco Facebook page, And someone posted in there today saying, like, what are some benefits that you think are really cool and no one knows about? It's like there's just so many that, like, some of them almost don't exist because we don't know about them as much as we
Yeah.
do talk about them. I think if they do this for Call of Duty, they need to make it very clear and obvious that it's an option, and encourage it. Like, I've never been to therapy. I don't think I'm like the type of person to do it. I think that's also partially generational. I was born in 96, which I think is one of the last generations that still had like a rub dirt in it mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like anyone born basically like 2000 or later all encourage each other to go to therapy and take care of your mental health, which is awesome. I don't know why it took us like 200 years to figure it out,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing is encouraging it. And who other to spearhead that than like Pristini or like Maniac?
Yeah.
Like some of these guys that are like they're big names and personalities and like they've gone through it and they clearly, especially Maniac, because he does do content and stuff, like he can clearly say like how much it helped.
I'm so proud of him. I can't believe how healthy he looks now, like how strong he looks and how much better he's doing now that he's getting the help that he needs.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's like I said, that's just like another good conversation to have. Like I'd be curious to see if there is stuff like that in place. For all we know, it could exist already. Like
Sure.
they could already have a benefit package that has it all, and maybe they're doing all the things we just talked about. And maybe there's more players in the league that actively go to therapy to take care of their mental health, but they don't share that with anyone because it is a really personal and private thing,
That's
right?
true.
Um, I don't necessarily believe that's the case,
Yeah.
but it very well could be.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess it was just a question in my head of, you know, how many pros actually do, get mental health treatment because it's important, especially when you're like in scrims all day and
Yeah,
you're constantly like what you're doing with your life is like staring at a screen, which obviously is great. Like, they're following their dreams, their passion, they're grinding, but it can also take a huge toll on, oh, I've been inside for 8 hours grinding. Some people don't have that motivation to go to the gym afterwards or,
yeah, to
uh,
make those healthier decisions to like balance it out.
yeah. And so I just think it's a really big thing. And I hope they're taking the steps to, you know, get help if they need it. Um, and
I think that's an area that Sensor or Doug did a really good job on, and who else was it back in the day? Want to say Stainville, could be wrong, but like Jasper, Face Jasper, and like Doug, they did a really good job back in the day of breaking the stereotype of like fat lazy gamer,
mhm.
right? Like Doug shredded. Jasper, granted, Jasper wasn't like I think he came from fitness and into gaming,
Yeah.
whereas Sensor, at least on the personality we all know, went from gaming into fitness. But like they helped break that stereotype. Flame Sword, um,
Yeah.
the OpTic Fitness channel, the Phase Fitness channel, Phase what's his name? Sensei. Like they've done a good job of encouraging people to be active, especially if you're playing 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But the mental side of thing, like there's not very many things that are as mentally taxing as 6 hours of scrims followed by 2 to 4 hours of regular gameplay and streaming.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's an 80 to 90% mental game.
That's true. um, I think that's it from my side
I'm
of
trying to think
question.
of anything else. We talked about the merger, talked about some of the things you had written down. The COD League just started,
Yes.
so season is a go. I like I said before this, I haven't had a chance to watch anything. Did you watch some of the matches yesterday?
Yes, and I don't wanna spoil too much, if you
Did it
haven't been
look good
able to.
though?
Uh,
Not Vanguard, OpTic.
yeah, I know.
I know Vanguard's
Uh,
not going to look that great all year.
OpTic has some good things going for them. Um, if you've seen the kickoff at all, he started off a little slow, Scumpy did, and the whole team was really honestly pretty slow to start.
Hmm.
But I think with this event, you haven't seen it much, but they definitely improved.
From the
They
kickoff.
Yeah, they look like a team that could put a run at top three, as where they stand now. But I think the possibility of our players right now are huge. Like we have Shotzi, Bruce, like we have star-studded lineup. Yeah, the other teams are looking pretty good, especially Seattle. I don't think anyone would have came out right at the gate and said, "Oh man, Seattle's going to be top two, top three team," and they are
Yeah.
right now. They are on fire. That's huge thanks to Sib and Pred, like rookies of the year guaranteed. Um, and so it's going to be interesting to see how this year plays out. Um, and I really hope that the boys, you know,
I'm so for the
get in
last
here.
for the first 3 years now, um, or I guess first 2 years because this is year three. FaZe obviously the best team. And I don't care what you say about Empire winning champs in Modern Warfare. FaZe was the best team that year.
Yep.
That's like saying in Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3 that OpTic wasn't the best team in those games because they didn't win champs when they
Yep.
literally won everything else. Um, so FaZe obviously being the team to beat. Team that impressed me by far the most last year was Toronto.
Hmm.
I did not see them being a team that could actually meet the pacing of FaZe.
Yeah.
And they did. They were just less consistent with it. But like they had moments where they were playing just as well, sometimes better than FaZe. A lot of roster changes happened this year. The thing I'm most interested to see is how the merger and bringing in a little bit more like coaching staff type stuff, how that does. Because like a lot of people basically looked at the downfall of OpTic the first 2 years as like just not having the coaching staff. Whereas like a
Yeah.
lot of these other teams have spent that money. FaZe said last year like their coaching staff was a huge part of especially like the searches.
Well, yeah,
And
they had Tupac, and
yeah, and like I
I
think
can't
that,
believe we didn't
you
pick him
know,
up.
Sender's done a great job, but adding Rambo and I don't know who else they have behind the scenes. Um, but it's just going to be nice to see different perspectives. Like it's always like there's not a professional team in the world in any other sport that only has one coach,
Yeah.
right? You have in the NFL, you have like your head coach, you have your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coach, and then a couple of other like you have a lineman coach.
Yep.
Like that breakdown. Like I'm interested to see like if down the line we get to a point where you have a similar thing where you have like a head coach, an S&D coach, a hard point coach, a whatever the fuck the third game mode is if we can ever make up our minds coach,
That's real.
an SMG coach.
That would be awesome.
Like imagine if you had like a class coach that like I mean that'd be kind of useless. The classes don't get that complex when everything's banned.
Yeah.
Um but it would be interesting to see like if we ever got to the point of like an SMG and like an AR coach. I don't think we would. Like it's only 4v4.
You totally see Scump when he retires just go to coaching on top of
I
creating.
I don't see him coaching.
Really?
I think he could, but I think the way that these last few games have gone, I think by the time he retires, like he's just gonna wanna chill out and stream and make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Um, I think Big Timer would have been an amazing coach,
Oh yeah.
but like when he was done and
Yeah.
just got addicted to the stock market instead. Uh, I do like the new series that the roundabout thing.
Oh yeah.
That I liked that it was short because like even like back with Vision, I watched the first season of Vision a lot, but I stopped watching when the episodes started becoming like 45 plus minutes long. And now, there's Gears, Halo, League, COD. I'm like, I don't have time to watch this long
Yeah.
of a video. So as long as they can keep these like short and consumable, which is wild if you think about this, but like I'm perfectly okay watching a 2 hour long movie, and I will happily sit and watch a bunch of 5 to 10 minute YouTube videos up to 2 hours, but a
Hmm.
single 2 hour YouTube video, no.
They're different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of that is like movies are so well thought out that they're designed to keep your attention that long. I don't
Hmm.
think there's very many videos on YouTube that can keep your attention that long. But
That's so true.
yeah. Is that it? Is that a wrap? We're
That's
just about an hour into it.
no,
I'm looking over my list of my normal talking points. I think we covered everything. Um
go
I did
to.
not ask. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just think we need to stress this a little bit. Hopefully, on the 14th, we get some ranked play because Vanguard is looking rough. Um, but yeah,
I
what are your thoughts on the future of ranked play and what you're hoping for?
actually, you know what? No, we're running this like at least like another 10 to 15 minutes. What time is it? Oh yeah, we got time. So, don't know how we didn't talk about this. We talked about one merger, one very important merger, Optic and Envy. Huge.
Hmm.
A much larger merger, Microsoft buying Activision,
Oh my goodness.
and what the future holds for that. So, I've been thinking about this one. One, Vanguard's beta, horrible, but like kind of fun. Like I could see where like, if they really fix this game's bugs, fun. I thought the same thing with Battlefield 2042. Um, really enjoyed the beta. Just had a lot of bugs. Games officially come out. Haven't played Battlefield a ton, even though what I have played, I did enjoy it.
Hmm.
Vanguard, same thing. Uh, but Vanguard for me has the same thing almost that like Cold War had. In Cold War, I enjoyed everything about that game. Felt good, movement felt good. Like it was a fun game to play. The challenges like for grinding camos weren't stupid like in Modern Warfare. They weren't forcing me to mantle my gun and play the game completely differently than how I like to.
Yeah.
But something about Cold War didn't make me want to keep coming back to it. Um, Whereas like Modern Warfare also didn't have that, but it had it much better where like I enjoyed just coming back and playing Modern Warfare, even though I hated all the challenges. And like I'm
Hmm.
not a fan of the cracked out slide canceling movement. Um, Vanguard, I really enjoy the time to kill. I like fast time to kill Call of Duty games because they're more fun. Um, Challenges aren't that bad. Leveling up guns is very slow. I don't know if that's changed since the first couple weeks. Um, but it's a fun game. The maps are better than what I was expecting. Just given World War II's maps. World War II, by the way, I almost exclusively played the war game mode.
Oh really?
Didn't really touch anything else. I didn't enjoy anything else. Ranked was pretty good. Um, Vanguard, though, I haven't played it after like 2 weeks. Like, there's something about it that I'm like, I don't want to sit here and play it all the time.
Yep.
I think a big part of that, and I think this is the sole thing for me in Cold War, skill based matchmaking. Like after champs, after I go to any event and spend a weekend watching pro COD matches, all I want to do is play league play. Sure, many of us
Yep.
feel that way.
Oh, yeah.
After champs, started playing a ton of league play. No bullshit. I had way sweatier matches in pubs. Way sweatier. It should not. That shouldn't be a thing. If you have a ranked
No.
mode, your pub should not be sweatier. They shouldn't even be as sweaty as your ranked matches.
Yep.
And Vanguard, I think, is the same way. Not quite as bad, but with Microsoft buying Activision, my hope and dream, and this is never going to happen, but I hope that I wish that we could start a game from the ground up, new engine, new everything, like they did with Modern Warfare. And
Yep.
you'd look at Infinity Ward, which in my opinion makes better games for pubs, but worse games for comp. You let them make multiplayer. Um, you let Treyarch make the esports game and zombies. You let Raven handle Warzone without any influence
Yep.
from Treyarch or Infinity Ward. They balance the guns however they want. I called this 2 months before Vanguard came out because I have a bunch of coworkers that play Warzone. Said when Warzone comes or when Vanguard comes out, every gun in the game is going to be trash. All the Vanguard weapons are going to be OP in Warzone because no one is going to actively choose to use a gun from World War II in Warzone unless it's broken. If you ignore that, Raven, you don't have to balance your guns based on whatever game comes out. Balance them however you want for Warzone. They all run on the same engine, so they all feel the same. None of the pros played Warzone last year because the engines were different and the movement and shooting mechanics were different. Keep it all the
Yep.
same. And now when you're done with your pro scrims, you can go play Warzone.
Yep.
You can go play zombies. They all feel the same. And then Sledgehammer, they get pens and papers to write down ideas, but they're not allowed to touch computers to code anything.
Yep.
Like
No, I totally agree with you. That'd be a
Sledgehammer gave us
solid.
Advanced Warfare, which I really liked for 6 months. It was new, it was different, it felt good. Supply drops sucked, but like they got better over the years.
Mhm.
World War II didn't work for the first week, mostly sucked. Gave us a phenomenal ranked play. I'll give them that. Vanguard tinfoil hat here. The change from beta status and like how the game played to full release was so drastic that I think they gave us a pre-alpha
Yep.
and then the full release to make us feel like they made a ton of improvements. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way that you improved this game that much in a month.
Huge of a difference. Yeah.
Like, you guys had to have given us like an alpha or pre-alpha to make it seem like you made massive improvements, which they
Yep.
did, but the game's still mediocre. What are your thoughts on that?
Going back, yeah, I think Warzone should always be its own game in the way of like back when it was meta to run like the M4, the Kilo, even like
The
just keeping
Kilo,
it
the
simple, like
Growl.
yeah, keeping it like 2 or 3 weapons that are good, not super broken. Um, you know, why'd they get rid of Verdansk? I mean, I get they're trying to make some change, but why not keep Verdansk and then
Why is
also have a
PUBG the
different
only
map?
battle royale that has a map rotation?
Yeah,
Every other battle royale, well, I guess Apex kind of does.
Apex has a map rotation. Yeah,
Yeah, they're just not as diverse yet, but they're a newer title.
yeah.
But yeah, like why aren't there both maps?
Zero clue why.
Why isn't there
But
map voting in multiplayer games?
yeah, why did we go from ranked play World War II being able to choose which map we're playing? I'm pretty sure it's been a long
I
time.
think you could.
I think you could too. Into league play where you're stuck playing hard point slash domination slash control, whatever it is for that year. And you have no choice but to play it, or else you just
Yeah.
have to quit. But
Why
people want that choice of, oh, maybe, most of my team wants to play search. Why can't we just choose to play search,
just ranked search?
Yeah.
So I disagree. So I think that you should be able to vote on maps, not modes,
Hmm.
because I think almost everybody would only play ranked search.
True.
Like no one's gonna actively choose to play ranked third game mode.
Yeah.
Third game mode has sucked. I think CTF needs to come back.
I agree.
CTF is my favorite respawn game mode
It
of all
would
time.
come to one.
It's my thing with CTF is like there's so much mental that goes into it. I feel like there's more mental that goes into it than hardpoint.
Or control.
Um, control. I hate control. I think it's gotten better
Yeah.
since its introduction. But like you win the first wave or two of kills. Like, don't get me wrong. If you get a close game of control, it might be the most intense respawn thing we've ever seen. It's far more intense than like the stalemating of CTF or even overtime CTF stopwatch back in the
Yeah.
day, where you restarted the round and it was a normal round, and whatever time they captured the flag in, that was the time limit on the next round.
Yeah.
Like that was great.
I hate that too. Yeah.
Control has the most intense final moments of close respawn games, but by design, you almost never get those.
Yeah.
Like we've had since Control's inception, like maybe 4 or 5 like edge of your seat moments at the end of the game. And the rest of them are like whoever wins the first 2 waves of kills pretty much wins the map, or
Yep.
the map is super one-sided. I can't stand Control. I would take domination over Control.
I can't believe control is the
Um,
second or third
yeah, I
game
miss
running.
CTF. We all miss Uplink.
Oh yeah.
Also on like Call of Duty and stuff and like games and in the dev cycle and whatnot. Um, this is something I used to say like with it like 2 years ago and last year, but we got the same version of Call of Duty for so long. We said, give us something new. You keep giving us the same game. This is starting to feel like Madden, where it's just roster updates. So they did. They
Yeah.
gave us jetpacks. By the end of jetpacks, we all were like, this isn't Call of Duty. This is garbage. Call of Duty is a boots on the ground game. We went back and mostly have disliked it so far. I think the sweet spot is like you get 3 years of either 2 or 3 years of jetpacks, followed by 2 to 3 years of boots on the ground. It's like the COD community is the worst in the sense that like by the end of jetpacks, we were all like, this isn't Call of Duty, but somehow we forgot that by the end of Ghost, we were all tired of getting the same COD every year.
Yep.
I'm like, guys, you asked for something different and they gave us something completely different. And then you got mad that it wasn't the same. Like somehow we forget that mentality.
Yep.
But I think like a 2 to 3 year rotation would be really good. How would you do that with what I said earlier about like, start a game from the ground up?
See
That would
where
get
you're
weird.
gone.
Like now that Microsoft's bought Activision, I'm like, I don't know.
I
Also,
think in
I don't know. I feel like so many games do this season thing now, where they don't release sequels; they just change it up with seasons.
yeah.
I am not opposed to that. I don't think it's the best because no matter what, I can never go back and replay season 1 of Fortnite.
Yeah.
I can go back and play COD Ghost whenever I want.
That's true. That is the bonus to that. Like being able to go back and play a different game
Yeah,
and not having to like rely like when you have
like these
seasons, you
season,
can't
yeah,
go
like
back. Yeah.
you can't. And like Fortnite's trying it with Chapter 3. They're bringing back like old weapons and old areas of the map,
Yeah.
and in my I didn't really play Chapter 2. I've played a little bit of Chapter 3, but like I already like it more than the week of Chapter 2 I played.
Yeah.
But like I get I'm sure money-wise you make way more off of seasons and microtransactions within those seasons.
Oh, easily.
Um but like can we get sequels still?
I don't know. I think
Can we get here we go. Here's a thought. Imagine everything I already said. They restart from the ground up. Infinity Ward does multiplayer. Treyarch does zombies and comp. Raven does Warzone. On top of that, each of these teams develops a second version of that game. Infinity Ward makes a boots on the ground multiplayer and a jetpack multiplayer. Treyarch makes a boots on the ground and a jetpack comp. Which
You
then
see,
at
the
that point,
problem with
maybe
that
like the Call
is
of Duty League has to say this year's boots or this. I don't know. That gets weird. Or maybe you do both. Maybe by doing both, you're allowed to have uplink and you just get one jetpack game mode. I'm not opposed to that.
I mean, it'd be kind of like in Blackout or like in Black Ops 4, how they had during Blackout, they had game modes where you could just do regular battle royale, and then they also had where you kind of had like a jetpack on your back, where
Yeah,
you'd be able to like fly around in Blackout
it was
with a jetpack.
Black Ops 3 movement.
Yeah,
But like, I wouldn't be mad if they had boots on the ground search, boots on the ground hardpoint, jetpack uplink. And then if you did seasons on those games, I think by doing that, maybe you come to a happy middle of like, you're still going to be given the option to go back and forth between two games, but you're also going to be doing these seasons.
yeah,
I think if you do the seasons, I think the cosmetics have to be the same. It would be highway robbery if you told these people that they had to buy two battle passes, one for the
mm,
jetpack title and one for the boots title.
yeah,
Like that's no. I don't know. I have high hopes. Like I think Microsoft so far has done a good job with the studios they've purchased.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. Supposedly they're getting sued now or investigated. They're getting investigated, I think, because of like potential monopoly. I
Oh,
think.
jeez.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I
Yeah, that's kind
miss
of insane.
I miss having a Call of Duty that I love grinding, specifically with snipers.
Yeah.
Like I think I liked ranked play, but like I miss running around pub stomping with snipers. I miss
Well, yeah.
those.
Call of Duties have like killed snipers, like Cold War, GA,
Yeah.
and for a good
The
reason
Car
because
98 in Vanguard does feel pretty good.
yeah,
And like Modern Warfare
mm,
sniping to me felt like almost too easy. Like there was just no happy medium.
yeah,
Um the last game I really just loved sniping in was Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered.
mm,
Like Black Ops 4, and this is another thing I talked with my buddy about. Like, I think the last 3 years we've had one thing per game that killed it. For me, Black
mm.
Ops 4 Stim Shot. Take Stim Shot out of Black Ops 4,
Really?
I think it's phenomenal.
I was about to say that's a lot of people's opinion. If BO4 didn't have stims, it'd be one of the best games
Yeah.
ever.
And oddly enough, when
Um,
they announced Stim Shot, I was a big fan. I
yeah,
thought I agreed with everything they were saying. Like, it makes you think about how you're going to engage.
yeah,
But then the way that everybody adopted it was the same, which was just to ego chow everything. And like, you no
yeah,
longer get punished for making a stupid play.
exactly.
So, like, Black Ops 4 without Stim, great game.
Oh yeah,
Phenomenal game. Really good maps. Excellent time to kill. Good guns. Like, everything. Heist, which I would not be mad if they brought Heist in as a third game mode. Give
yeah.
us basically a second search and destroy with Counter Strike money. Like, I literally, that game mode hit and I went, yo, third game mode. And they went,
No,
control. What the fuck?
you,
Team
you
deathmatch with
want
hard
control?
points. You
Yeah,
want spawn trapping team deathmatch basically.
yep.
Um. So yeah, that for Modern Warfare squad spawns.
Terrible.
You make it normal spawns. I think the game is 10 times better.
Yep.
Vanguard, I haven't played it enough, but squad spawns.
Cold War. What killed Cold War? What did it?
Skill based matchmaking.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Cold War.
snipers are part of it. Just because, like, even Formal talked about it. He said, Like, there's a lot of times where he's, like, sniping in a pub's map or whatever, and he knows, like, that shot that he's hitting would never be hit in any other COD, but it hits just because, like, the bullet registration for snipers in that game is so off.
Yeah. Like, I don't as much as I did play Cold War, for me, it is skill-based making just because like I said, I had sweatier pub matches than ranked matches.
Yeah.
Um, but like oh, and here's a universal for every game since Black Ops 2. Why the fuck do we have trophy systems with no counter? Where did the EMP grenade go?
Yeah, for real.
Like trophy systems in Black Ops 2, each trophy destroyed 2 pieces of equipment and you had an EMP grenade to counter it.
Yep.
Modern Warfare, it's like you might as well have and Black Ops or Cold War, you might as well have banned nades because everything was being destroyed because there was 8 trophy systems on the map at any time.
Yep.
Like I
So
don't
crazy.
understand why we haven't seen the EMP come back.
Yeah.
Did
'Cause
Advanced
people
Warfare
think
have
it's
one?
you I don't
I
know.
feel like Advanced Warfare might have had one.
They might have.
I'm
You
trying to
see,
think of
I
like the
think
animations, and I can just I don't know. My brain remembers things through like gameplay and animations and stuff. Sometimes all I can think of is the way that you shot grenades like out of your little wrist rocket.
there you go.
I'm like, did an
I don't
EMP
know.
ever come out of there? I don't remember.
I just know that, like, the whole reason there's no trophies in Vanguard is that they wanna make it realistic, which is fine, but then they have, like, camos and stuff that, like, looks super, like, high
Okay,
tech.
Call of Duty's never been realistic. Leave that to Battlefield.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
And
like
two, there's plenty of shit in Vanguard that's not realistic.
Crumpus running
Okay.
around the
Like a
map.
gun from the 1920s, 30s, 40s fitting 15 attachments on it.
Yeah.
Your created class system, like by nature, is unrealistic. Tell me in what world you can put that many attachments on a gun of that from 100 years ago?
Yeah, for real.
Like you're telling me I could just slap on a 500 round magazine to like an M1 Grand?
Totally.
Like
Uh,
realistic? Get out of here. Respawns aren't realistic. Y'all just gonna remove those too?
yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I think there's a lot of improvements to be made. I don't think I think the soonest if Microsoft does actually acquire Activision, I think the soonest that we will see changes in the game that reflect that is 2 to 3 years from now. Because I think the game that comes out this year and the game that maybe comes out next year are already so far in development
Yeah.
that, maybe Microsoft won't be able to influence them that much.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I'm so excited for it. My grind right now is Halo. I have been
Halo has been a breath of fresh air.
yes. Like it's simple, it makes sense most of the time. Um the ranked is pretty good, can definitely be improved, but like
Mhm.
it's solid. Um yeah, ranked Halo has been my favorite thing in the last like 3 years.
Mhm.
Like I will be playing this for the foreseeable future
Oh,
and
yeah.
potentially through next year's COD at this rate. So,
Huh. Yeah, I have hope for COD in the future, but it's always nice to, like, change it up for the games every now and then. Like, I've been playing a lot of, Halo, obviously. Apex has been a big one that I've been trying
I
to play.
I would get back into Apex. I played it on day one because they had that sneaky little launch where everyone just started streaming this new game.
Yeah.
Played it day one very heavily through the first like month of when they introduced ranked play, and like we had a solid squad actually. And then I stopped playing because Modern Warfare came out, and I've always been a Call of Duty guy.
Yeah.
Um, I wish I would have kept playing it because like even in ranked, we were getting into high gold and like still cruising through it. So like I
Oh
think
yeah.
our squad could have been, how did it go? Bronze, silver, gold. I know
And then,
Predator's the top.
yeah, and
Is there a
there's like,
platinum?
yeah, I think it goes bronze, silver, gold, plat, diamond. No, I could be wrong.
Like most games have that. Like it's bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, top, whatever.
Yeah.
Predator, Onyx, whatever.
Hmm.
But like we were like in high gold lobbies and still cruising.
Yeah.
Um, and then we just kind of stopped playing because COD came out. Like
Yeah.
it's always in the back of my head. Like I wonder what our skill level actually was because we never quite met it. But
Yeah.
Apex is a super fun game. I think Apex is. I think it's the most difficult battle royale esport.
Oh,
Like
easily.
I think at the top 1% of battle royale players, I think Apex is the most difficult one, just
Yeah.
because the abilities and everything, and like keeping track of ultimates and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, I do. I always do want to get back into it, but I don't know. Uh, with Halo right now, the way that it's going, I'm like, I'm not going to touch another game. I'm not
Yeah.
going to risk taking a week off playing something else and then coming back to find out I'm dog shit. Uh, but yeah.
Understandable.
Uh, so this, I guess, as we wrap things up, at the end of every episode, I pretty much give you a platform to. It's kind of like how Hot Ones does, right? If you have Twitch or Twitter or anything that you want people to follow or check out, or if you just want to tell people to have a good day, I don't know.
Um, Huge shout out to you. Thank you for letting me come on and talk about what we both love, and I'm sure many other people that are listening love the Green Wall and OpTic in general. And hopefully we can actually meet in person at an event sometime soon.
Yes,
Would be super cool.
I have
Um,
such big plans. Like I don't even want to be the biggest creator or streamer or anything, but some of the ideas I have, like I'm like I have to hit a certain like following just so I can use these ideas.
yeah,
I have some cool ones. I think they're cool.
definitely. That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully you can reach whatever goal you set. That's always awesome. Shout out to all my family that if you're listening to this, I appreciate you. Appreciate my girlfriend, Brittany Burns. Shout out to Connor. He's like my godfather. Shout out to Jordan Visma. And you can check me out on Twitter at Waltinator or on Twitch as well. So,
Yep. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, the tags will be on the screen, obviously, as well as in the description. I believe on Spotify, they're going to be in the description as well. So feel free to check them out. Show them some love, everybody. Thanks for coming on. It was a good time. I'm excited to finally have season 2 underway. Long time coming. This year, in all my content, I'm hoping to be wildly consistent. A video a week, a podcast every other Sunday, not skipping anything unless something actually comes up. And I have some cool guests potentially coming on. We you never know. Scheduling complicates things. But like the biggest one will be Hex if I can snag him at Texas for a few minutes. Um, I've tried to get his brother on here as well. That one's a difficult one to schedule. And then D Treats, my favorite sniper of all time. I'm trying to get him on here. So this year, not only do I want to be really consistent, but I want to have the occasional big guest. I don't want it to get to a point where, say, this really blows up and I have access to a lot of big guests. I don't want them to be the stars of the show. I want it to mostly be the fans and have those hero episodes once in a while where I do get someone big, but it
mm,
just shows centered around the fan base. Everyone needs to get to know each other. My ultimate goal is like if we all see each other at an event, like not only are we all OpTic fans, but like we all actually know each other. Um, Hopefully, one day. We'll see what happens. Thanks again for coming on. Thank you, anybody that's watching or listening. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks on the next one. Have a great day.